Okay, so you can tell from above. So this panel is, what do you need to know about running for office? So we came up with a list of questions about all the things that we need to know about running for office. However, we do not have 3 days, but we will try to pick a question or two that each of them submitted, and we'll take turns answering them and do the best we can in the next 40 minutes. All right. So, what mistakes do first-time candidates make in the early weeks? We'll start with Pooja.
Can everyone? You can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I am somewhat in my early weeks, so I'm really excited to answer this question. I can say the early weeks, I always think about your campaign launch, and the first day that you launch your campaign will probably be your first day that you make the most money, to be frank, other than your kickoff and events that you have. And so a lot of candidates that I see come out and they don't have their Act Blue set up, or they just do a social media not linking to their Act Blue. And so I always tell people, when you launch, make sure to have your website set up, your Act Blue set up, and everything ready to go, and put it all out there from the first day. And that's really important, because that is going to be the day that pretty much the world looks at you and wants to learn everything about you. We all know in politics, we all have a little bit of look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And so you have, in my mind, in my opinion, from what I see, is people who look at you who don't know you, and you have about, in my, like, 30 seconds to a minute to make your case. And so it's good to have everything in one place ready to go. I was fortunate in the sense, and we all have to appreciate Rep Goodwin. I'm running for House District 47. I was Rep Goodwin's past chief of staff up until about 2 months ago, before running for the seat. And she told me 2 years ago, after the last session, the 88th session, that she was thinking about running for lieutenant governor. And I know at that time she'd called you as well, Nancy. So I had time to build up. I always tell people to look at the office that you want to do, and then start the work now and get into the community as much as you can. So those first weeks of your campaign, hopefully you're in a situation where people already know you and are excited about you, and you're not just coming out fresh out the gate saying, I want to run for this, and then everybody is just learning about you through social media or through a website. You've already built up your own narrative and your own fan base within your own district, wherever you're running, whatever you're running for, before announcing.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Can you?
Have it. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to. How'd you figure this out? Oh, it was on. There you go.
Thank you. Who are candidates here? I just want to kind of get a feel of it. All right. Thank you so much for stepping up. It's a big deal, and we appreciate you doing that in Texas. I would say that it's the personal side of something that you need to think about, and then like the campaign side that you need to think about. I think you were very right when you talked about, did you base build already? Do people kind of know who you are? Because you have your own network, right? Maybe you were all in public education advocacy, or maybe you were all in the PTA, or maybe you were all in the environmental group, but that's just a little slice of the pie. And so you don't want to launch your campaign assuming that kind of everybody knows who you are, and you're going to have this big celebration. They're going to love you because you're running for office, right? We're going to love you because you're stepping up. But a lot of people are going to be like, who is this person? We kind of need to get to know you. So take some time to build some relationships that are a variety of relationships out there. And find someone who can broker those relationships for you, because you're not going to know all of the important relationships unless you're already really networked into the political system. I was not well networked into the state level political system at all, and so that was a big disadvantage for me. I thought people would love a grassroots candidate. Hey, we say that all the time, right? I'm grassroots. I'm different. But not really, right? So you need that liaison, and so start building that, or else there will be significant challenges. So start doing that. Find someone who can broker those relationships before you launch. Personally, prepare your family. I gave my family, my whole family, a big heads up that they would be targeted on their media. I gave my kids' school a heads up that they may need extra protection, and that did happen. So I did do lots of heads up for my family, and we had a big discussion to make sure that this was something that we knew we would have a financial sacrifice to do, and a security sacrifice.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to Nancy and the organizers for putting this wonderful event together, to everybody for attending, especially stepping up to run. That is not that's no small feat. And yeah, I think I want to second some of the things that Pooja mentioned about the technical side of things, about having a website built up. Even if it's just a single landing page, something that kind of gives people a point of where you can go. I'm also laughing because I'm thinking of the moment I was calling a donor asking for funds later in the campaign, like a month or two before the election, and they were like, "Do you have a website I can go to?" And I was like, "What kind of candidate do you think I am? I don't. I of course I have a website." So that's one of the first things that you do want to set up, but. I'm going to second Jenny's comment about the personal side of things too, and add that you should absolutely start planning, have a self-care plan in place for yourself, because it's a train ride that you're going to hop on, and then it's just going to go at full speed and it's never going to stop. So figure out how you're going to protect yourself and your own well-being early in the early days, and practice makes perfect. So definitely a mistake that I made early on.
Okay, so the next question is, so how do you ask for money without feeling awkward?
All right, I'm going to pick this one up. Um, I talked to, I kind of created early in the early days too, and this is another piece of advice: is kind of figure out who you trust and kind of develop a kind of kitchen cabinet of mentors, people who've been here before, people who can help give you advice, and you can learn from their mistakes. But I talked to several people who told me, helped me understand how to fundraise. I've fundraised in different capacities throughout my career as a scientist, having to pitch myself to the NSF to get, research funds, RIP. But I, one of the most important things that these folks taught me was to get over yourself when you're asking people for money. And I know for me personally, in my bio, I come from a working class background. I'm half Latina. My community is not a community, and my family, I should say, many of them don't vote, much less give money to campaigns. And talking about money can be really difficult. But you have to get over that immediately, because you're not asking for money for you. You're asking for money for the people that you're trying to represent. And that there's no shame in that. And unfortunately, as Talarico mentioned earlier, there is a lot of money in politics. And for me personally, jumping in, I really hated that aspect when I was thinking about running and becoming a candidate. But I really quickly saw that you really can't get anywhere if you don't have the funds to do it. You can't hire a team, you can't reach those voters that you need to reach, and you can't lead your operations in a way that's going to make you a successful candidate. So figure your pitch out. It needs to be authentic, and make sure that you have that hard ask when you're making those calls, because it's very important that people understand the power, they're voting, they're giving you funds to allow you to reach voters in your district that are going to help the people. If you think that you're the best candidate for that job, then you should not be ashamed or find it awkward to ask for money. Think of the people that you want to represent and how it's going to help them.
Can I add to that, as someone who's spending 4 hours a day on call time right now? I call it voicemail time because no one picks up their phone anymore. I've been talking to other candidates about this as well, and everyone's kind of experiencing it. In fact, it's when you're calling and someone actually does pick up, it kind of takes you off guard. I will tell you, it's practice. Practice makes perfect. My first few days of call time, even to people I knew, the hard ask is really important because I would then like hang up and be like, they're going to support me. And my campaign person was like, yeah, you didn't actually ask for money or an amount. Um, it's really important to do that. And it feels so scary and awkward. And I think you just have to remember your why every second. And so for me, being in a 60% blue district and I am unopposed in the primary, I don't know if I'll stay that way, but also I will have a Republican challenger. But it's easier to talk yourself out of like why you need the money rather than talk yourself into why you do need the money. And for me, it's we're all servant leaders here. We're Democrats in Texas, right? And so we really have to remind ourselves why we're doing this. And for me, it's reminding myself that I'm putting the money back into the district. In 2022, Rep. Goodwin had 1,500 more people vote in the primary, not through anything that she did, 1,500 more people vote in the primary than in 2024. And so I know it's a blue district, but I also know that I want to use the money to get out the vote in my district, find those 1,500 people, and then maybe help candidates around the state who are also running for the Texas House so I have better colleagues than what's currently there and putting that money back into Texas. So find your why and then know that like that's the mission you're going for and that'll keep you going because I'm going to tell you sometimes waking up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to just make phone calls all day again. And it's really not fun. But as long as you keep that in your brain, I actually even wrote it down and put it on my desk next to a little Texas ledge pen just to remind myself what I'm doing because it's not fun. But all I will also say about money is find who you can who's run for office in the past and see if you can get their lists after you go through your own network because it's really helpful and people will share it. They're a lot more generous with it than you assume. But get people's lists, make those phone calls. And I will tell you, I just got a text before this where somebody said, I just had coffee with someone and they're going to give to you. You called them. And I said, did I? I call like 50 to 60 people a day. But even though you're leaving voicemails, trust me, they see it, they hear from you. And one last thing I'll add that I learned is because no one picks up their phone anymore, because we have so many spam filters on our phones now, text and email is what we've learned. So we also send a text right afterwards and we send an email. So it feels tedious, but it's getting your name out there and it does work. So
I will say that I think I'm the rare candidate that loved call time. Do you? Yeah. I love call time because I love listening to people, actually strangers I love listening to. I love hearing their stories. And so I would always start with what matters to you or what keeps you up at night. And so it did take a lot more time because it was building a relationship, and sometimes you would have to call them 3 times, 5 times or whatever. So I would customize my script because I'm not selling me, I'm selling them a product that they want later on, which is to change Texas or what matters to them or that sort of thing. So I would always change my script. And then there are some people who are very business minded in the actual investment, and those are people with big dollars. And I had a 1-pager that said, this shows that I can actually flip this district, and I would email them all the statistics and data and stuff like that that would actually prove that I am that the district could be flipped, and that's when I would move the needle and get the dollars. But I loved it. I would highly suggest getting on Zoom with other candidates to hold yourself accountable to do call time together.
But keep yourself on mute, maybe, so you're not hearing each other.
It's like this group work.
Yes. So
I had something I wanted to add here, which is don't give up. I know I'm thinking of Pooja talking about like calls 4 hours a day and you don't get a lot of answers. Which if you're a scientist, you figure out the optimal call times and have a schedule that is centered around that, so you're more efficient. Talk to me after. approach your campaign like a scientist. But no, I'm thinking, I wanted to share, don't give up. There was a guy who I called about 13 times, which most people in their right mind would tell you, give up after 8. Don't keep calling this person. But I kept calling and calling, and then finally got him on the phone, had a great conversation. He ended up donating. And when I met him in person, he told me, I just wanted to let you know, I thought you were so annoying. Like, I hated I like every time he called, I was like, "Ugh, this person again," and blah blah blah. And then he was like, "Who is this?" And he looked into me and he was like, "Oh, this is a really cool person. I really value everything that they're doing. Like, yeah, I want to support them." And that story just really touches me, and I laughed so hard because I was like, "Yeah, I was persistent and annoying until you figured out, like, hey, I need to support this person." So don't give up. You never know where a phone conversation is going to lead.
So, what is a good strategy for getting endorsements?
Absolutely. So, I'm not very good at bragging on myself, but I'm going to. I have 45 Travis County elected officials endorsements, including the entire Travis County Democratic delegation and HDC member Jean Wu. And I will say that didn't just get handed to me. It's a lot of hard work. It's being a chief in the building. It's being around people as much as possible. It's the work that I started before I announced. And so like I said, not everyone has the opportunity to have a representative or the seat that you're running for, as we know, where someone makes up their mind so far in advance. But if you know you want to run for something, start the work now. Get to know people. I was the chair of the Travis County Democratic Party. I had spent so much time building up relationships. I actually, every single time we went to an event, and I didn't do this for endorsements, but it built relationships. Whenever I would see an elected official that I really admired, I would take their pictures. I would send them a text right after, and I would say, "Great job. Like, that was so good. I really value what you said." Really building up those relationships are important. One thing I learned about our electeds, they really love to get to know new candidates. They really love to build a bench. They love to know you. So don't be scared of them, and really get to know them. That's elected official endorsements. And I've also learned there is power in showing up. I've been to, gosh, almost every day or every other day, I would be at an event and just show up just to be able to talk to people and hear from people. And again, I didn't do that to run for office, but it's really about getting to know the community and building that trust. There is such a lack of trust in our politicians and our elected officials these days, that building up and showing that you are one of the community really helps people and helps to build up those endorsements from community members. One thing, I heard a quote the other day that I really love, and I really, if I'm elected, want to take this with me in my heart every single day. But the power belongs to the people and not politicians. And we are just meant to be megaphones for the people. And so I think being in the community and showing them that you are there to listen, no matter what, no matter who they are, no matter what party they are, really helps build up those endorsements. So really take the time to be in the community. And if you want to run for office or are running for office, go to everything. I mean, after this, I'm going to a Steiner Ranch town hall where they're shutting down one of the schools, and it's a pretty bipartisan effort. But I think just even showing up and being there really lets people know, like, maybe she agrees with me, maybe she doesn't, but at least she's showing up. So that's what I would say.
I think endorsements, you have those personal endorsements, right? Like people who are in your community, representatives, and then you have organizational endorsements. So formal groups, or not to name specific names, but you have two different. As a candidate that didn't have big inside relationships or political connections or that sort of thing, I didn't know who to get endorsements from. Like all the formal groups, and you're not given a list of, here are all the people who will actually endorse you. right? You can pay a consultant to give you that. And so there's a lot of hidden information. I was fortunate enough to have a group of women who were all running, and we shared information as we learned it very abundantly, and just said, oh, you can get an endorsement from them. You can get an and we shared information in the applications and everything like that. If you're a new candidate, you're not well connected, you're going to want to find someone who is well connected or has ran before and is very abundant and willing to share their information for the greater good. There will be some people who will not endorse you because, sorry, Nancy, I see you looking at that, because they want a candidate who they know will win because it's a return on their investment and they want to show their donors that. So don't get your feelings hurt if that happens. And then also with my race, because there was already someone in that, to have open endorsements from other representatives was a big challenge because they had to work with that person in office if I did lose. So I would get in the background support from elected officials, but to be out front and center and say, I endorse them, I support them, could have ramifications on them in the future. So not getting your feelings hurt around that and just being willing to move forward with your campaign.
Yeah, and I'll add to that if you are in a primary with a number of other candidates, definitely don't get your feelings hurt if a lot of folks don't want to jump in and endorse before the primary. I think that's very common for local organizations and elected officials as well. Seconding Pooja's comment that so much about the endorsement process is relationship building. There were, when I started, I was a newcomer as well. I didn't know a ton of folks, but I built those relationships over time. I kept showing up. I made sure that people knew who I was, and I now have these folks as friends. That's really important to make sure that they know who you are and that you're building that rapport with them. There's another thing I wanted to add. Oh, so when you're a congressional candidate, this is a little different process because you have your state organizations and you have your national organizations, but you're not going to get to the national until you get to the state. So it's like a two-tiered system of relationship building, which is a little wild. And also the process can be pretty rigorous. Like they have an application form, their deadlines are all different, and that's for every organization. And I mean, you have to have a system in place to make sure that you're keeping track of those, who the contact person is, how you're going to how you're going to submit that and who's going to submit it. And they ask you different fielded questions. So, it's a pretty laborious process, and definitely better to start earlier rather than later. But for folks who, have primary opponents, I think it's important to just recognize like you may not get, those endorsements early.
Can I add one thing, which is just a piece of advice? Especially for elected officials, call everyone and ask them, even if they've already endorsed your opponent, especially if it's a primary, just you want to have that conversation, because if you go into a general, you don't want to ever have to give them the excuse to say, well, they never called me, so I don't know who that person is. Make sure to call everyone. And if someone says, I can't endorse you, I think the next ask, and don't be scared to say it, is, are you willing to stay out of the race? Because sometimes that non-endorsement is important too. You just want to keep them. If they're not willing to endorse you, do everything you can to just keep them out of the race, and then ask for, as Jennie said, for their background support. But ask every single. There's a lot of ego in politics, I'm learning. Let's be honest. And you don't ever want to give people a reason to not support you or to not be able to say their campaign doesn't look great because they didn't call me. And whether that's fair or not, it's the reality. So don't be scared, just do it. I always, because I have that relationship with them, I even text if I call and people are busy. I follow up with a text so that or email to have written proof. I'm an attorney. To say, well, you did. I text you. Do you remember this? So do everything you can to reach out.
Okay, sorry. We have a firm 11 o'clock speaker, and so I'm going to cut this a little bit short, but I want to open up the floor for like one or two really quick questions. So does anyone on the floor have any questions? Mary Fox.
My badge. But I go and talk to, yes, first purchase is a badge. Second purchase, business cards. I go say hi to everyone. I shake their hand no matter what. And if they have questions, I'm always happy to meet people for coffee or anything. But I really, I I go and say hi to everyone. I always go and meet whoever is running the town hall or whoever's doing it just to say hi and say, you know, I'm here. I'm ready to listen. I would love the opportunity to say hi to the crowd, or if you can just mention that I'm here and if people want to have a conversation, to go ahead and do it.
Or is any other question? Okay, I'm coming.
I was just gonna add to that, like Pooja, you said you were the chair of the county party, right? And so like I don't know if you guys do it at your meetings, but at the Harris County ones, they invite all the candidates up who are there at the regular quarterly meetings to have a 2 minute, not 2 minutes, probably 30 seconds to say your piece. Who are you? What are you running for? All that stuff. And they do it at the Democratic club meetings as well. So try to get to as many of those. I'm a new running person, but I'm precinct chair, and so a little bit of.
Okay.
Thank you, lady.
And I will add, if you are a candidate or planning to run for office, get to know your precinct chair, all the precinct chairs in the district that you're running for. That was like one of the first things I did, and I garnered their support and got to know them because they are the ones going to the doors. And if you don't have a precinct chair and you're not a candidate yet, become a precinct chair. It is one of the best ways to get involved.
Recruit your precinct chairs if they're open. Happy to answer questions aside from this panel, and I love to support people.
Same. And as a data nerd, I wanted to ask how many folks in here are precinct chairs and candidates? Okay. And candidate. Okay. How many precinct chairs do we have in the room too? Fantastic. Okay. I think it helps, but definitely want to second that knowing your precinct chairs in your district will be instrumental.
Okay, how many people here are county chairs? There you go. There's a few. Yay, thank you. Thank you so much. So we're now going to take a couple minutes. You can visit with a couple vendors, and we're going to transition to our next panel, which will be Andrew Cates and Britt Bishkoff, and it is about AI.